Hi everyone, welcome back. I realised I needed to start talking about what matters most as a maths teacher. And I'll keep it to one thought maybe at a time. This is my first. There's one thing I think for all teaching. I've had the chance to teach other subjects, I won't go through that. You can see on my music conducting videos of the people I've trained in music. And a lot of that relates exactly the same to my maths teaching. There's one thing that matters more than anything else. Here's me, look at my age. I go into schools and I'm teaching alongside actually ex-students, quite common. And looking at what is the most important thing after all these years. And what matters most? One thing. One thing only. It's trying to get your students, no, better than trying. It's getting through to your students that you really do care about them. You put value on them, you appreciate them, you understand somewhat who they are, and you show them what you're doing, that you actually understand what they're doing. Oh, and there's so many things I could say about that. But the first thing is just for people to realise what is happening in your classroom, or as a teacher or as a student. Biggest thing that keeps affecting, I know, more and more as I teach, and I look how much I've even developed that over the last 10 years more consciously, over the last 20 years more consciously. But if I look back to my early days, I know I did all the time. Do people in your classroom, or do you in your classroom feel valued by your teacher? I can think of teachers at school that I know disliked me. Sometimes I did things that caused them to dislike me, not very often though. Sometimes just my presence in the classroom, for some reason, they'd have something against me. It's such a big deal. And the moment I knew that teachers didn't like me, and I hear students say a teacher doesn't like me, but I know in reality they probably do. Or they might not particularly love them, but the student thinks they don't love them when they often do. So getting through that barrier, how do I show the students? How do I, when a student is convinced in my classroom that I hate them, I've got to end for them? There's been cases over the years, there's been various cases. Can think of one that this girl so thought that I disliked her, basically I couldn't say anything to her. Interesting part, she actually came top of my class, which was quite fascinating. Why did she go from middle of the class to top of the class? I presume she had something to prove. I presume. It's just interesting, the whole idea. In her case, I did get, this is very early on in my very early days of teaching, I did actually get to the point that I knew I couldn't say a thing, couldn't ask her a question or anything. I finally, after a bit of time passed, I said one thing, asked her one question I knew she could answer. Didn't want to make too big a fuss over it, but I just said, well done, that's correct. And over time, the interesting part is I don't remember who she is. She would probably remember who I am. I tried hard just to get through to her. More recently, I see it's quite interesting. One of my thoughts came to mind yesterday was I have students who I'm convinced don't like me. They want someone else, they had someone else they prefer. And yet, as time passes, they will say things to me, see me in passing, be polite, say nice things, and get quite a shock that they actually wanted me back as a teacher. So maybe over time I got through. They knew underlying everything, no matter what I did, no matter what I said, I really did have their best interest in mind. Probably enough for the first one. I didn't want to talk this long. Just want to say thanks for watching and see you again in the future. Bye for now.